What's up everyone, welcome back to another video with a double game week this week. Today I'm talking you through my top 5 players you should buy. What's up everyone, FPL Harry here, and today I'm taking you through my top 5 players plus answering a few of your key community questions going into the big double game week 20. Now, maybe not that big in terms of fixtures, but big in terms of the teams that we have with a double game week. Of course, as a quick reminder, we have Spurs with a double game. We have Manchester City, we have Manchester United now, and of course Crystal Palace as well at the end. So to dive straight in, the first player, it is a highly owned player, but if you don't own him, I think this is a great excuse to be going and buying Harry Kane. With us selling the likes of João Cancelo from our teams, it means we've got a lot of money to spend. It means that a premium draft with the likes of Haaland, with the likes of Kevin De Bruyne or Mo Salah and Harry Kane as well is very, very plausible. Harry Kane has both been an absolute rank killer and a massive differential for people who have owned him so far this season. Second highest scoring player in FPL and still only 30% owned just because of how well Haaland has done in that premium forward slot. Predicted to score over 30 points in the next 6 game weeks, averaging over 5 points, almost 6 points per game week over those next 6 game weeks. 127 points, starts pretty much every single game. Unlike the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, Mahrez, if you're looking at the Manchester City guys, there is that rotation threat. You know if Harry Kane's fit, he's going to be starting in the Premier League. 15 goals, 4 assists for him. Again, it's just crazy the amount of returns he's got and how little we've maybe talked about him until the restart has come and the last few game weeks have come and we're really starting to buy him. Now, the fixtures there, we have the double in game week 20. It is Manchester City and it is Arsenal. It is a difficult double for Tottenham, but I do think still they could do well. I do still think Harry Kane could score in both of these games. Manchester City in particular are leaking goals, and then it's the North London derby. Harry Kane always loves a goal in there. And then after that, game week 21 is Fulham away, Manchester City in game week 22, and then Leicester away in game week 23 kicks off a really, really nice fixture run. Yes, maybe you look at the next 3 game weeks playing Manchester City twice in there, Arsenal in there, and then away at Fulham, but I think it's a great excuse. I think from game week 23 onwards, we're going to want Harry Kane. So for me, I'm going to be using this as the week that I decide I'm going to give up on what I've thought about Harry Kane, of him as an asset so far this season, and just go and buy him. And I really think you should as well. I think he could do well in this double, even though the fixtures are quite hard. Next up, we go to Manchester City, and I have gone with a bit of a punt that some of you might not agree with. It is Riyad Mahrez, 7.5 million, just 2.1% owned, predicted to score almost 26 points over the next 6 weeks. Of course, that takes into account the slight rotation threat that you do buy into when you're buying Riyad Mahrez. However, Pep has sung his praises since the return of the Premier League game week 17 onwards, says he's training better, his reaction to not starting is much better, which doesn't necessarily bode that well because he's saying, oh, when I don't start him, he doesn't mind that much. But his reactions to that are much better. He's training much better as well, which I think if we look at the way Manchester City are playing at the moment, Grealish and Mahrez are very key to what they're doing. We saw that in the Premier League when both Grealish and Mahrez came on as substitutes. They completely changed the game, scored the winning goal, of course. After that, it's Wolves at home. Then 22 is Tottenham away. Not the easiest. And then we do start to see Champions League start. But of course, in game week 23, there is the double game week again for them and Aston Villa and Arsenal. I do think that having triple Manchester City, using 20 as an opportunity to buy into it when they have a double now, then they have Wolves next week, and then the double in game week 23 is bordering on essential if you can pick the right ones. Of course, Haaland is going to be in there, and the majority of us are going to have a defender, and we'll talk about one of the defenders in just a moment, and then adding a third one in midfield. Whether you want to go with Kevin De Bruyne because he's nailed is fine, but I do think the value that the likes of Riyad Mahrez at just 7.5 million, that's $500,000 cheaper than he started the season at. I think he could be really nice. 2 goals, 3 assists for him so far this season, averaging just under 5 points per start. We know what he can do when he hits form. We know what he can do when he gets a consistent run of starts, and I feel like now is that time. Next, we go up front, and it is Anthony Martial, 6.6 million, 4.6% owned. Of course, has the double in game week 20 now. Manchester City, and then a Crystal Palace team who, frankly, are conceding a lot of chances at the moment and not looking very good defensively. Predicted to score 25.4 points, so pretty much the same as Mahrez, but of course, at the moment has 1 less game. There is a chance that Manchester United get a double in game week 22 with the Leeds fixture that they're still waiting on being added into that game week 22 round. So wait on confirmation if you are considering buying buying Anthony Martial, but even if that's the case, I do think you could go in for him this week. His points since he's come into the team have been pretty mixed. Only 5 starts so far this season. Has got 3 goals, 2 assists. A lot of those actually coming off the bench. But with the way Manchester United are playing, with the fixtures they do have on the horizon, so after the double, they've got Arsenal, then they have Crystal Palace, then they have Leeds, and of course the potential double in Gameweek 22. I do think that Anthony Martial could do really well. There is a rumour that they're potentially signing Val Weghorst, but I do not see him coming into the team and starting over Martial. I see him being a sort of rotation option, a late in the game when they're chasing the game, a way to rest Martial later on in games if they need to. I don't think they'll be starting over him. So at 6.6 million this week, next week as well, I think they could be great buys. Pick number 4 is actually the only player in this list that doesn't have a double game week, and that is Mitoma of Brighton. 4.9 million, 0.9% owned, predicted to score almost 21 points over the next 6 game weeks. And of course has no doubles in there. Has looked so good since he's come into that Brighton team. 5 starts, he scored 40 points per start, averaging 6 points per start at 4.9 million. 3 goals, 2 assists for them. He's such a clever player. He wrote his sort of university dissertation, his sort of masters on how he can get past players on football, on the ability of dribbling. And that just, to me, screams a player that knows what he's doing, and it is shown in the Premier League. There is no double, of course. Brighton are rumoured that they could potentially get one in Game Week 21. It is not confirmed. Liverpool at home in Game Week 20 is not something that should put you off. Liverpool are conceding chances. They are likely to have Van Dijk back for this game. Brighton are scoring goals, particularly at home, and Mitoma is definitely a player that can be involved. Leicester away, Bournemouth at home, Crystal Palace away. Game Week 21 onwards, the Brighton fixtures are really nice. I think a lot of us will be looking at a Brighton asset, and there's no reason that you can't be buying them this week. If potentially you're looking to free up money to buy Harry Kane, for example, and you're looking at a cheap midfielder, you're thinking, oh, I'll go Andreas, I'll go Leon Bailey, they're the ones I know. Please don't. Mitoma, for me, will outscore both of those consistently and quite considerably between now and the end of the season. And pick number 5 before we answer your questions is John Stones. 5.4 million, 4.6% owned. Again, for me, is the Manchester City defender you should be buying at the moment. He is the defender that I will be buying into my team this week. 25 predicted points. Again, up there with the likes of Mahrez, is very nailed on, it seems, at the moment. Manchester City are not conceding that many goals, although a few leaky ones going in here and there. Pep has spoken very highly about some of his players, particularly John Stones, about how well he did in the World Cup and how well he's doing on the return of the Premier League. Of course, as we spoke out with Mahrez, a double in Game Week 20, a double in Game Week 23, with Wolves at home as one of the fixtures in between those. From Game Week 24 onwards, if you want to move off, then great. But having a Manchester City defender is really nice in here. Ederson is probably the only more nailed option that you could go in there. A lot of you looking to move off João Cancelo. Not many of you looking to make a goalkeeper transfer, so we do look in defence. If you are selling João Cancelo, like I am this week, I do think John Stones is a nice buy in his place if you can afford it. He does have some goal threat. He does have some assist potential. He's got 2 assists there. He is a threat from set pieces, whether he scores them, whether he assists them. So you do have that added bonus on top of the potential clean sheets. Now, you might look at Game Week 20 and think, oh, the clean sheets there are going to be quite difficult to come by. And maybe you're right. But over the next 4 weeks, you probably expect there to be 3 minimum clean sheets over those 6 matches. So those are my top 5 players to buy. And now just answer a few of the questions. Number 1, should we triple captain Haaland? For me, it's a no. For me, the double is difficult enough. Now, I am going to be wanting him to blank in both games if you captain him and don't triple captain with the amount of people that probably will end up doing it. I do look at the Game Week 23 double and the potential double they have later in the season at being better chances to triple captain Haaland. So for me, it's a no. I do not put you off if you do decide to do it. It is an okay double. Spurs have conceded chances and they will need a result against Arsenal if they want to continue to fight with them for the title. But I don't think it's going to be for me this week. Next up is what about captain on Marcus Rashford? So they play Manchester City and then Crystal Palace. For me, it has to be on Haaland again, with the amount of people who are going to be playing their triple captaincy on him, with the amount of people just captaining him anyway. He blanked in Game Week 19. The chance of him blanking again a week later is almost 0 with the amount of form he's shown so far this season. I just can't see him blanking, and I think Manchester City will be returning to what we've seen from them before, as we saw in the FA Cup at the weekend as well. So for me, it will be captain Haaland. I don't dislike Rashford as a punt, but Manchester United are so reliant on what he's doing, and as soon as he goes quiet, I feel like the team doesn't perform as well. Next up, should we be taking hits to be going and getting extra players in? So for me, if it benefits your squad long term, please use Game Week 20 if you want as an excuse to take a few extra -4s. I'm likely to take a -4 this week, one of those being downgrading Cancelo to John Stones, benefiting my team for the long term, having a more nailed Manchester City defender, and also upgrading Mitrovic all the way up to Harry Kane is what I'm planning on doing. So with those two in mind, that'll be a -4, but it does benefit my team long term. Don't just bring in a player who you think might be good for 1 week, like a Crystal Palace player, and do them for a -4 and then have to sell them next week. Don't do that. But if it benefits your team for the long term, please use this as an excuse. Question number 4, will there be doubles in Game Week 21 and Game Week 22? Basically, I don't know. Ben Crellin is predicting that we might have some in Game Week 21, and the rumours are there might be another Manchester United double in Game Week 22. None of this has been confirmed. Do wait, unless you have to make early transfers, do wait until the Game Week 20 deadline, because they often give these announcements on a Friday for some reason, so we might get them before Game Week 20, and then that could really change. For example, if you're looking to sell Salah to De Bruyne, that looks great now with De Bruyne having a double in Game Week 20, but if Salah gets a double in Game Week 21, you don't really want to be going and doing that. If you're wondering what the doubles could be, go and check out my transfer plans video. I talk about all the potential doubles, all the potential blank game weeks in that video in a lot of detail as well. Finally, number 5, would I still go for Shaw with Dalot? So this is quite a specific one about the Manchester United defence. I would still go with Shaw even now Dalot's back, even though Shaw's gone up in price a reasonable amount. Dalot and Wan-Bissaka will fight for each other's places. Wan-Bissaka has shown a little bit more than maybe we thought he ever would again in a Manchester United shirt. Dalot coming back from injury, I don't necessarily think he'll be raised back into starting 2 in the double. When Game Week 22 comes around, maybe it'll be Dalot back, but at the moment I think Dalot might start 1 with Wan-Bissaka starting the other, so I would go back in on Luke Shaw. So we've answered your 5 key hot topic questions. We've talked about 5 key transfer targets for double Game Week 20. Let me know any more questions you have in the comment section down below. Any transfers you're considering, anything like that, any comments you have, all in the comment section. Make sure you've liked the video. We're going to try and hit 1,000 likes on the video. Thank you all so much for the support. Like and subscribe before you go, and I'll be back again very soon.